This is the Outliers Edge podcast, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity by taking them to the edge of their comfort zone so that they can lead us to the edge of what's next. I'm your host, Niiamah Ashong. Let's do this. Hello there, Niiamah Ashong here, founder of Outliers Edge, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. I get a chance to have a conversation today with two such leaders here, Glenn and Reed of Hawai'i Trading Academy. Glenn, Reed, it's a pleasure to be in this conversation with you today.
Thanks for having us.
It's good. It's good to be here. Thanks for saying yes to this here. So we're going to spend some time here exploring the trailblazing path that you've made out in the world, both in terms of where you have been and also where you're headed. We're going to spend some time really getting a chance to explore that journey. As we get started, I want to actually just get a chance to get to know. Let's start off here first, getting to know Hawai'i Trading Academy, and then we're going to spend most of the time getting to know the two of you behind this here and how you've been able to go through your own unique journey to create what you've created now and beyond. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
Glenn, you want to take it off, Glenn, or me?
Yeah.
Up to you.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So I mean, Hawai'i Trading Academy was born between Reed and I, and it started out based on our friendship. I was trading, and in Hawaii, it's very, very less less common to find other traders. Not everyone does it. So I was scrolling through social media one night, and I saw this Reed's Instagram. It was Hawaii FX. I was like, hey, you know what? Let me go reach out to this guy. And so I sent him a message. Saw that he was local, and we probably have a lot in common. And so I reached out to him, and fast forward a few days later, we set up a time, meet at the local Starbucks, and we talk story for about hour and a half or so, and then from there we stayed in touch, and then we formed a genuine friendship, and throughout COVID, throughout all this, we decided, hey, you know what, man, we've been both of us we'd even tell each other hey, we want to build a community. This whole journey, it's hard already to start trading. It's harder to do it by yourself, and so let's put our experience and our knowledge together. Let's create something. And so less than a year ago, we created Hawai'i Trading Academy, very new, and from there we just continued on. We got super intentional. We got consistent in producing content, putting our brains together, brainstorming, coming up with new content, and from there it even elevated our own trading game. You know what I mean? And so, right now the impact, we just hit 400 subscribers last night on the YouTube, over 10,000 or over 1,000 hours of watch time. Our podcast is reaching globally. And we're just super excited to be on this journey. Reed, I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Yeah. We just basically started going off of what Glenn said. We met through social media, and it is if you're just familiar in the trading scene in general, there's a lot of scams out there. There's a lot of fraudsters. So we saw a lot of that during COVID, and we're having our really good friends and family coming to us because oh yeah, Reed, Glenn, you guys trade. I found this guy, I gave him $500, and I'm just waiting for my $5,000 payout. And I'm like, oh my goodness, no, please don't do that. Cause that's red flags right there. And so Glenn and I kind of came to hey man, let's save our community. Let's save it, because they're losing money to people that aren't even in the islands. And that's kind of, to me, that's frustrating, because you never met this person face to face, and you're giving them money, and it's how about we guide you or teach you? And at first it started off with just one-on-ones, and then it started off with meeting people through social media and linking up with them. And the reason why I just want to point this out to Glenn here, he's the most honest trader that I know, that came out from the woodwork, that I've met through online. He was the first person to present all the data, had the same mindset that I did. experience with Glenn's in the 10x community, which is Grant Cardone, and like, you know, just self-development, entrepreneur mindset. And Glenn, pretty much, he's my accountability partner. So that's how we're able to continue to do this thing. Just transparency and honesty is the main thing that we're all about, and that's what we like to encourage in our community as well.
Well, it's great to I'm glad that you like established that here. Glenn, thanks for reaching out to Reed, because it like that butterfly effect has not only led to this conversation here, but like I'm hearing the hundreds of people that are being impacted here, the ways that people are actually being able to have some honest, transparent experience as they're navigating their trading journey. Let me ask you, if there's one thing that Hawai'i Trading Academy does, like in particular, in case anyone here is like, oh, I'm really like interested, I want to like just go out and find out more, like what's the one thing that you all focus on as an academy and as a community? I want to make sure we cover that, because we're going to go in so many different directions here in this conversation, but I want to make sure that I'm seeing that in particular as well.
Yeah, I'll answer this one. We cover 3 primary pillars at Hawai'i Trading Academy, and that's psychology, mindset, and then edge, which is your strategy, and then just risk management, which also falls under trading and edge, but it's also a different type of category in itself. That's why we created a pillar for it. But me personally, I always say this, 90% psychology. I'm all about the mindset, the psychology, and yeah, that's anything else to add, Glenn?
Yeah. I mean, a goal of ours is to help create and cultivate traders. You know, Hawaii is such a niche market. We are in the middle of the ocean, right? And so lots of different information gets filtered out. And, you know, because we've been doing it for years, we've seen a good amount of that stuff, and we found what sticks, what doesn't. And to be able to connect locally here and physically with other people, I think that's going to be a key thing that makes us stand out. Who knows? I mean, yes, like we're looking with a world scope, but right now let's focus on the community. That's what we're doing.
I really feel it. And like we're getting to know each other, but I wanted to say, like, I feel like the genuine nature that comes from both of you here. Like I'm genuinely excited to be in this conversation, and I think it's also the reason why I want to give so much space to the work that you're doing. Typically, we'll spend more time around the person, but I'm like, there's a lot of heart that's coming through here, and I think that there's elements of your values that seem to be coming off right off the bat: the honesty, the transparency, being in the place of the mindset around it. And you use one of my favorite words right now. So, Glenn, earlier you mentioned trailblazer before we hit record, and then Reed, you just mentioned edge as a pillar. I'm like, oh, we're good. We're gonna really have some fun and explore that. Yeah. So, I also want to take this opportunity to just get to know the two of you. So, you talked about it's hard to do trading. It's really hard to do trading. It's even harder to do it by yourself. That one really landed with me because, you know, I spend in our world here with Outlier's Edge, we have a lot of people who have created kind of like independently created success. Now, when I say independently created success, it does not mean they've done it on their own. They have teams, they're supported, so on and so forth. However, for them in their journey, they end up being one of a kind. There's still something about that like doesn't really always help them get some peership, right? And I kind of want to just kind of put that into this mix here as we're talking here. It's already hard to do trading. You can fill in the blank with it's already hard to do something, and it's almost harder to do it on your own, right? Mm-hmm. Just do it on your own. So, Glenn, I'm hearing this. You've been doing this you're trading for years, and you came across Reed, and you're like, actually, I'm gonna start bridging the gap and create my own community a little bit here. Let's just kind of just like tap in on that here. I'm really just interested in like that first moment here. Like what made you decide like, hey, I'm gonna reach out here at this moment. I'm gonna like get the ball rolling and starting to build community in this way?
No, that's a great question. You know, you to be able to for one, sliding into other guys' DMs, that's not my thing, right? But being that, my background, born and raised here, and we're taught only things that we from school, from grade school, and being able to network and uh, communicate with other just strangers, that's the thing. That's a skill that I haven't been taught personally. My parents, they're always work. They're hardworking parents. They're always at work. I had siblings, but the thing that kind of you know helped me reach out to Reed was because my wife and I don't know if you ever heard of Grant Cardone, we're part of the 10X community. We launched our own business prior to this whole trading thing. And more so that a lot of that self development, the reading in the books, the listening to podcasts, learning from mentors, just really pouring into yourself, that's where all the confidence, the skills are built, you know what I mean? And so for me, that was putting it into practice. Hey, I'm going to go reach out to this guy. I'm being intentional. Look, I'm like, I don't want nothing. I mean, really, like, I'm not going to sell anything to him. I'm not going to buy anything from him. Let's just connect, right? I'm curious as to what he does. And, you know, I didn't have anything else in mind. I didn't have this conversation in mind. You know what I mean? None of that was like, hey, look, let's just take the first step. Let's just meet up. Let's just have some coffee. The worst thing is that we're gonna waste an hour and waste. Coffee is always gonna be good. So nothing. The risk. I'm managing the risk there. So yeah. I mean, that was my intention there. It was just really just taking that one step and going forward.
I really like that element of just like removing any expectations, taking it all off the table, choosing a coffee place where you're like, I know the coffee is going to be good, so at least that's going to be there. I'm going to be invigorated and such. But all jokes aside, like there's an element here of just getting down to let's just connect, let's just plant this. I don't even know, like let's just we have a seed and we have soil. Let's see if it gets planted or not, but it's like let's just keep it simple and start building a relationship. And that's like you said earlier, like a genuine friendship was built here. Yeah. So I want to call that out, especially because I hear you. I am familiar with Grant Cardone. I'm not a part of his community, but I do go back and I look at where I'm 10X and such quite often. Right. So I'm also hearing that like there's elements of knowing things in kind of principle or even like best practices, from like what the mindset might be or what the approach could be. But then you took this best practice and actually practiced it. You actually put it into effect. And I feel like that's something that it makes a difference. It makes a big difference to go from intellectually understanding something to actually bring it out into life here. Awesome. So Reed, you're living your life. You're already you're on social media. You're out here. You're doing something here. And if I remember, the name had something to do with trading. So it's like you were out in the world here. You talked a little bit earlier. I want to get to know you. I just want to get a sense of like what was life like for Reed before that faithful coffee meet.
Yeah, so I did start a little, not my own company, but my own idea of a company, and I created like a website and everything. It's called Hawai'i Forex Academy, so it's really close to nomenclature, whatever it is. And I was just reaching out to people specifically at the time, foreign exchange traders or currency traders in Hawaii, and there were none. I wasn't coming across any who are doing it full time and who traded as long and who had as much data as I did at the time. And so I created a separate Instagram or social media handle. I started fresh, like not even my picture. I just wanted to be genuine. Like, okay, this is me. I'm a trader. This is not my personal stuff. This is dedicated 100% to trading. I met a few local people through the hashtag like Hawai'i Forex or Forex Hawaii. and met a couple of people, and they all ended up being people. I don't want to say genuine, because some of these people are great, just maybe not genuine, or they didn't want to confront their trading as far as like what they were doing wrong and right. It was always like, oh, I'm good, I'm up, I won this much. I'm like, okay, but where are you struggling with? Like, how can we grow together? Or what did you learn since the last time I saw you? And so that kind of began to fade fast until Glenn comes along. And at this point, I met about three or four people before Glenn. And Glenn hits me up on Instagram. I'm like, oh man, I hope this guy's not a scammer. I hope he's serious. Cause like, before we meet, we're like, hey, how long have you been trading? What currency or what markets are you trading in? And I'm like, oh, Glenn's pretty solid guy. He's a family man. So like, maybe we'll get along. And yeah, as soon as we met, like I presented my journal where I'm struggling with. Glenn flipped his computer around, showed me how he trades his journal. Told me actually he needed to work on it too. So I'm like, wow, like you're the only person who's acknowledged that, at least, like he has a journal, he knows what a journal is, and just that experience as far as trading goes, he was like at the forefront in Hawaii that all the traders I met. And then on top of that, he had that mindset. I think that's what really sold me, because there's a couple people who've been trading 2 or 3 years that I met, but they're just not successful yet in the markets as a full-time trader. And then Glenn's mission or goal is the same as mine, is want to be financial freedom through trading, through the tool of trading. And so that's essentially that's how it began. We hit it off as soon as we met. And then it this idea though came in time, like totally, like one dinner we're like, man, you know what I've been thinking, like let's grow this two right here, let's grow us. And then the idea came literally like at a dinner, so it was pretty awesome.
I love that. Like, thank you for just like saying that. It's nothing like we met up, we put all expectations away, and then immediately during that first coffee, we're like, we should start a business together. That wasn't it, right? There was the foundations that were in place, the relationships that were built. You said something here: confront your trading. That the element of confrontation really is a. Actually, I would love for you kind of spoke to it a bit. It resonates very strongly with me. There's a few different words that you've been using that I'm like, oh, I want to kind of just see like how that works for you. You talked about confronting your trading. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that means for you?
Yeah, I would love to. That goes into the psychology of it. And with trading, the biggest thing, in my opinion, is ego. The big word, ego, right? Ego. And when we don't, so like when I first started and I experienced losses, like there's one time I experienced 16 losses in a row, won one time, and then experienced like another set of 16, 17 losses in a row. And so looking back at it, I wasn't confronting myself. I was just saying like, hey, how come you're placing this position when it doesn't even fit your plan? Like you're just trying to get in the market. And I wasn't confronting that. That's what I mean by confronting, is like confronting what were you thinking during these trades, these positions? What was going on in your life? Were you actually going through like a tough breakup, or was school difficult? And then that could be traced to why you experienced losses during that week, that month, or like what was that time frame in your life? And that's what I mean by confronting. You're confronting yourself, you're confronting your own actions that led to this outcome or this process right now. Yeah, Glenn, what do you think of when it comes to confronting your trading?
Yeah, no, that's a deep I could go into deep conversation. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of it to really is just really look in the mirror, and a lot of people, they have that knee jerk reaction of pointing fingers. Oh, the market did this. Oh, so and so announced this. That's why I lost my trade. Blah blah blah. My computer broke. A lot, they go through every excuse without even looking at themselves for making that
Yeah.
decision. And it ties in directly into entrepreneurship and business. We like to, a lot of businesses suffered and went bad through COVID, and that's their number one reason, through COVID. I've known many business owners that grew exponentially, myself included. We were able to grow even though our industry was completely in a hold. I'm in My wife and are in the wedding industry, and so that kind of stands validates that mindset, looking at yourself, confronting your situation, being aware of it. That's the thing that's gonna allow you to grow out of, not be a victim. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Rather,
I was gonna bring that up, like that victim
victim
mentality.
mentality.
It's like
Exactly.
woe is me, everything's my fault. It's not. When it comes to the market, that playing that victim is, you're not confronting it. You're not taking ownership. That's is
Mm.
essentially what confronting your challenges are. Is you're taking ownership that I did this. I placed myself in this particular situation, and
Yeah.
I have the ability to get out of it as well.
And this is why it's so key. Like, I'm so happy that Rian and I connected, because we have those conversations. A lot of people don't even have those conversations. They get into their head and they start telling them false things like, "Oh yeah, it's okay, Glenn. You'll get them next time." Right? You start creating these false stories, and then you start veering off. With Reed and I, we're like, dude, the market kicked my ass,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
time, and I screwed up, this and that. We lead our conversations with ownership, and we check ourselves, and that's, I feel like that one element right there is very key, and it really helps with um, our journey. And that saying, right, I think is in the Bible: iron sharpens iron. Having that conversation with whoever, whether it be your mentee, your mentor, coach, whoever, business partner, like, I think that conversation is really crucial.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna pause really quickly and invite any outlier that's listening to this right now. Like, what's one area in your life where you need to take more ownership, or you would benefit from taking ownership? What's one area where you've been showing up closer to a victim rather than as an owner? Whether or not it's, I'll actually leave it at that. Let me not even go any further. Glenn and Rita set us up really nicely on that. And I think it's really important to just give ourselves a chance to just reflect on it. Even if you've done this work before, even if you're like really conscious of this along the way. Glenn, Reed, you're both part of the community where like mindset and such is always on the table, and yet you're still asking these questions. And sometimes you can find it in these specific communities, but when you try and bring it out into your specific life, your specific world, those people aren't necessarily in alignment. There are others that are in alignment with that. Reed, you're talking about the people you met beforehand who weren't in the space of confrontation. So I'm going to invite anyone here just to like pause real quick and just check in. This might be like the check-in you need for the day to just give yourself 1% more alignment with what's going on, or to get you 10x more toward like where you're actually supposed to be. All right. So, this idea of like confronting, taking ownership, that's for me, that's very big in the world that we have here with Outliers. And I this conversation, I'm really enjoying it, because while trading is the context behind it all, like I can hear different people with their businesses, different entrepreneurs, different people in their families, in their workplaces, and when they're leading their teams, trying to bring any new vision to life, and finding other people to go on that journey with you, as well as being like just honest about what is actually happening. And like I really want to just like acknowledge you two for being in this space of like, let's create that transparency. Let's flip the laptop around and actually let someone in. And I think like that is not something that honestly just doesn't always feel comfortable. It's like I've had a good day. I've 17 bad days. Like that doesn't necessarily seem to be the place where a strong relationship could be formed based on how most people go about things in the world, or what most of the things that we see. And I'm really glad that we're in this conversation here where y'all are actually able to demonstrate actually how strong of a foundation can be built with just that level of honesty and ownership from the get-go in there. So thank you for bringing that out into this place. Reed, earlier you mentioned one of the three pillars being edge, and I can't not go down a conversation around edge. Like for someone else that has that as a pillar, it's like we got to explore this here. So tell me, Reed and Glenn, like what does edge mean for you? Because I also I want to your edge is probably different than my edge, and I also want to expand like what edge can mean for us here in this space. So what does edge mean for you when you talk about it as a pillar?
Yeah, so for edge, particularly in the whole trading market in general, it's basically the probabilities that your plan will work out, or it's a strategy. Edge also means strategy. So like a time proven, meaning like you could go back in history and coming to modern day markets that you could still be profitable. And that's what essentially what an edge is. So it's like quantifiable. But yeah, that's how we use edge in our
Yeah.
genre in our field. How about anything, Glenn, for
Yeah,
edge?
I mean, yeah, like that quantifiable edge, that approach that gives you that 51%, that little bit of edge of winning, right? You can translate that into business as well. Like, how do you stand out in your niche? How do you stand out from the crowd in your business? How can you repeat those actions? What are the best circumstances that you see in the marketplace where, okay, you know what, I see that, let me go do this, and I can repeat it, and then I'll get some wins. I'm not gonna always win, but I increase my chances. It's more, yeah, it's really increasing your chances, kind of trying to be the house, and trying to really just increase your success in that way.
Yeah, so as you say this here, I'm bringing this together for me in this moment. It's like increasing the like using time proven strategies to increase the probability of like a quantifiable win for you.
Yeah.
I might have
That's
just put a bunch of different words together though. So,
Yeah.
but there's
it
like
sounded good to me.
it sounded good, right? But like the element here, so one of the things I'm hearing is like it's one of it is like just live in the world of probability, right? And that's actually something I think is I like to slow down on things and kind of like to zoom in because there's a lot of wisdom, even in just the words, even if it's the wrong order of it. There's a lot of wisdom in everything you're saying. So one of them is like moving to a probabilistic approach as opposed to a deterministic approach, right? It's like either it happened or it didn't. I like either this is definitely the path to go down or not. And what I'm hearing from you is like actually what you're doing overall is just increasing the probability of success for you and saying, okay, we can't guarantee,
Yeah.
but yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. I think that's also like a trade-in mindset. So I'd love to bring that in here because there's something to be gained from it.
Yeah, like to add to that, like, so here's a metaphor that I kind of pair it with. Reed is a surfer here. I don't surf, but I kind of use the metaphor of edge in surfing. When you go out into the ocean, you cannot control the ocean. You don't know what waves you're gonna catch exactly, right? But what you can control is how you, like, what time of the day you go, what board you bring, how you feel, how, like, getting in sync with the ocean, right? You're just watching it, seeing what it does, and then you just go in and catch the wave, and you ride it for as long as you can until you jump off. And it's just to simplify the kind of thing. I don't know, really. There's probably more, but
Yeah, I mean, always
overall,
being always ready, like
being always ready.
it's physically tiring. So I mean, like, yeah, that's an edge's health. Yeah, but like, to kind of another example, if that didn't make sense, is I was thinking like, okay, there's a hill that a group of us have to climb. Okay, what are you bringing as an edge? Okay, this guy's gonna bring shoes to climb up this hill. Okay, this guy's gonna bring a donkey to carry his stuff to climb up a hill. They're all trying to get up this hill, right? And it just, certain edges are faster, certain edges are, more affordable. So I mean, just like, that's what I was thinking about, like using an edge in a real life example, going up a mountain.
Yeah. Well, let's I'm going to spend a little bit more time in this world. I know it kind of feels no, I'm not even going to like explain or justify like this what I get about this is that someone's going to hear one of these examples and something's going to click. All right. And I think that the importance of this here is, well, some of the importance here is like, what is your strategy? What is your approach? What gives you an edge? With Outliers, I would go around and I'll say like we focus on two elements when it comes to edge. One of them is like what's like your edge of like your boundary, like how do we get you to like pass your comfort zone? How do we help you continue to grow? Right. Glenn, you kind of touched upon that when you're like, I got to bring this into practice. All right. Let me actually reach out here. All right. So what's your edge in that way? And then the other way that we looked at edge is like, what gives you an edge? What's your competitive edge? What's the thing that you do? What's the strategy that you take that might have that could be time proven based on our world, time proven from like your own results. I spend a lot of time with people, and when I hear about their proudest moments, one of the exercises I invite people to do is like, tell me about like the three things you're proudest of, and tell me about like tell me the story around it. And when you hear those stories, you often see like there are these through lines around like, here goes a strategy that you took. I can imagine over time you and Glenn being able to go back and saying, yeah, like building really strong relationships like is a time proven strategy for us. Like every time we build relationships, good things come from that. Being able to confront and take ownership of things. That's like another edge that's here. And we can translate these into, from the theoretical down to like, I physically am a great writer. I'm going to bring my pen as my edge, and like that's going to help us. Or we're building a team and we're finding like, here goes the different ways that we all complement each other here. So I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's funny because it speaks really specifically to like what we do here. We're here to like help people understand for themselves, like, hey, you've had an unconventional like history of success and it's gotten you to a certain point. Now you're going somewhere new. Where do you go? Well, you go back to your edge. It may not be like the way that people create success may not be how Glenn and Reed are creating success, right? It may not be through community. It may not be through the same kinds of pillars that are there. But like I'm hearing, as I'm talking to you all, I'm hearing how aligned your philosophies in life match up with your philosophies in here for the strategies that are being used. And things that don't necessarily work in trading specifically, you're finding like, how do we find genuine honesty and community and relationship, not just amongst the two of us, but we can like bring that out even further. So I'm hearing how you're like leveraging your edge even further, like through what you're building right now, and using that to create additional multiples, additional returns on top of it, because like now all of y'all are bringing in to the mountain metaphor here, you're all bringing in different tools that can be used along the way. It's like, oh, I got rope. On its own, rope may be one thing, but it's like, oh, well, I have like lasso abilities. I can tie knots. I have rope, but I can tie knots. Great. Now all of a sudden we can start climbing up this mountain a little bit differently together here.
Oh, that's great. And I kind of want to add to that, like this for your listeners. A lot of the times, you're talking about your outliers edge, your boundary, right? We're comfortable when we hit that bound before we hitting that boundary, and when we go beyond that, you're like, whoa, we kind of stop really thinking. We're kind of just taking in like, this is an unknown place. Maybe I should go back, right? So especially in doing things in our lives, whether it be through business or growing through success and whatnot. This directly correlates with trading. When we're in a trade and we're hitting unforeseen areas, and the price never been all-time highs, no one's been here, we get the same thoughts. We're like, yo, what are we gonna do here? Getting that run in, or the Bitcoin, the Apple, whatever it may be. If you're an investor and you're riding that wave per se, the thing that allows us to stay grounded, and this is for the audience, you want to have that philosophy, that foundation to keep you grounded when you're in uncharted territory, when you're breaking through your outlier's edge. And that's going to allow you to continue on. You're going to have your principles, you're going to have all that. Like we have our trading system. We don't deviate from the trading system. The only reason why we deviate is because we're just humans, and we make mistakes. We're emotional. And so that's I just wanted to add, like, when you're in uncharted territory, instead of going back to what's familiar, like, you stay in that uncharted territory, stick to your system, stick to your principles, stick to the things that carry you forward, and you kind of pointed that out, building genuine relationships, community, honesty, and all that. So have those core values, but stay in that uncharted territory and see where it takes you.
One thing that comes to mind is step into uncomfortability until it becomes comfortable, you know, and that's like a lot of things. Like, I remember when we were first starting podcasts, we were like all over the place, you know, and now it's kind of like we're more calm. Well, I'm calm. Glenn's always been the calm one, man. But like, you know, that's something I've learned. But, you know, that's another thing is like to keep an edge is always have to be willing and open to learning. To like anyone and everyone, everything is there's no good or bad, it's just all experience. So that, and that's the way we gotta look at things.
Yeah, and I think our ability to remain humble, even through winning periods, the market will come and just spank you in the butt, man, unexpectedly. And it'll hurt. No matter how long you've been trading, how big of an account you trade, it'll hurt. It'll hurt. And it's not just losing money, it's that thought of, oh, I was wrong, this and that. A lot of it's, we go back to, okay, I got whipped in the butt, and we're able to like almost pinpoint where we fell, you know um and yeah, I mean, just to add to what Reed was saying, like staying uncomfortable, and that's where you grow.
um I wanted to say something too. So we were talking about like just edge and everything, and I felt like I wanted to go back. Like what Glenn and I want to do, we always talked about like Elon Musk. Like he's a disruptor to things that have been established for years and decades, you know, like the space industry, for example, the automotive industry. But he just became a disruptor, and it wasn't nothing like too new, but he was a trailblazer in that sense, that he was just bringing like reinvigorating people's excitement for things. And so like what you said, Niiamah, right? Niiamah, yeah. So what you
Yep.
said, Niiamah, um you were talking about like there's a theme like in everyone's life throughout your podcast, like you see that, okay, this is a key component of your strategy, your edge, or this is a key component. And then one thing that like Glenn and I teach at HTA is that like you create a trading plan based on your personality, and that's the same way in life in general. So like all three of us may share an example of how we overcame an obstacle in our life, but maybe that the way we've approached that may not fit the listener right now. So just like this is for the listener, is just understand, look back in your life and see what's a common theme. Like, okay, when a tough time happens, I usually go to my grandma's house, you know, like just something small. Okay, why do I do that? What if I just stayed here and learned through this lesson? And that's the step where you grow. That's where that growth is acknowledging it and then taking action with it. But that's all I have to say with the edge.
Yeah,
Back to
well,
you, man.
yeah. If anything else comes up, Reed, just bring it in here. Because I think we're touching on a number of important elements here, right? It's like it's fun for me because I will say both of you have a skill at translating some of the philosophies behind trading into other areas. Like it's we can talk about trading, and as you're talking about, I'm like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from on all this here. We may not be using any of like the jargon or any of the technical terms and everything along there, but there's a level. I do want to acknowledge both of you in like your ability to translate different concepts and different philosophies across spectrums. And that's actually something that's important for me because a lot of times people will talk about, oh, what's the best practice? Tell me the best practice. And I've always, not always, actually, that's not true. I used to be a big best practice person. And over time started to evolve into one of two things. Like really, instead of practices, I'm focusing more on principles, right? So I like to understand what are the best principles. And then on top of that, there's this place where let's say like Elon Musk, like he has his own, like he has like his only principles. Like he's like this is what he does, and it's like, and if someone else tries to do it, it may not, they can't pull it off in the same way because it's like the principles that apply for him. And as we're having as we're in this conversation here, one of the things that really strikes me is the principled nature of what we're talking about, because it does, one of the tests for me is like a practice works in a very specific environment, maybe for a very specific industry or at a very specific time. Whereas a principle is like, it's more timeless. You know, you said like time proven strategy, you know, it's like, okay, like over time, this is going to continue to be the winning strategy here, you know. And so I just want to call that out, because I do feel that element of like both of you working from a principled approach to it all. And that like, even without having gone into like the academy itself, like I'm like, okay, this is what comes along with it, like being able to work off of strong principles to be able to build out the financial freedom, the financial wealth that I'm looking for. So I just want to just call that out, like my experience of having, like, being in space with you all, being in conversation with you all, that really rings out as true. So we're gonna start wrapping up this conversation here, but I do like to, since we are talking about edges, I love to look at it and say, like, all right, like what's the next edge for you all? It might be within the business, it might be for you as individuals, but what's the next edge for you? Going back to like that uncomfortability, getting outside of the comfort zone, going up to that boundary here. Like when y'all are looking at it here, what's the next edge that shows up for you?
Got big plans, Glenn. Well, one, we want to do in-person, like boot camps. So like that, we've never done that, and that's something we're looking forward to. But we feel that like, and like live trading seminars, where that'll give the edge to the traders if we're specifically talking about trading related content. But we're also working on like psychology courses specifically on how to approach trading with psyche. And I kind of want to, sorry, I want to backtrace all this like self-development. It wouldn't have been possible without trading. I literally started reading books because of trading. I started developing my mindset because of trading, and I wanted trading to work. So, I mean, like, yeah, it all comes back to trading's the foundation, but below that is, you know, it's the psychology, and you gain that through books. So like, anyway, that's going, yeah, I'll let Glenn take over now.
You're good, bro.
Yeah, no, you really are good, Reed. Like this, you know, I'm following fully in there, and like starting from the foundation of like, there was something else that drove you, that kept it on there. Like, and I think that's important. Like all of us here are going to go out and create whatever it is that we're creating. I have specifically chosen Outliers as an industry agnostic type of experience. It's not even just for entrepreneurs or business people. It's for people who are out there with a vision that they're trying to bring to life. And to me, that's leadership. And people who are stepping into leadership, whether they choose to monetize it, or they choose to lead other people to create something, or they choose to create social impact and change as a result of it, like there's something in it that's important there. So I want to call out, like, there's no any way to it, Reed. It's important, and I'm glad that you said it. Awesome. Glenn, you had something to say?
Yeah, no, just like acknowledging what you were just sharing a few moments ago. We approach, you know, the way we were approaching Hawaii Trading Academy, we acknowledge like, hey, this is not groundbreaking stuff. We have not invented these things. It's been like nothing's really new under the sun, you know. It's been said throughout time, centuries, by great people, books and whatnot, and just, you know, those principles withstood time. And you know, we've seen it through all these different successful people that they implemented it and it did something for them. Our role is to just help communicate that to our community, and it's really key to be able to bridge that, create that communication, create that, just, you know, allow people to connect in that sense. And that we're excited. We're doing it through our different things. Like we just had a meeting last night, Reed and I, and like he mentioned, we're creating this new course, psychology course, mindset for traders. The live workshops. We're also planning to start inviting guests on our podcast. You know, we're like 5-6 episodes deep, you know, but eventually that's gonna be the next thing for us. But who knows, man? I mean, we're excited with we got the different industries blowing up, crypto and NFTs. We're gonna start touching it and based into there. We're already kind of in it, but really just like shining light on it and bringing it into our community. You know, those are different things, and I just feel like because we've been trading for quite some time now, and it just allows us to adapt easily with the different components that's different things that's happening in life right now. Because we have that expectation, dude. We don't know what the market's gonna do today, tomorrow, and whatnot. Let's just stick to what we know, our edge, and approach it the next day, on a new day. And so that's kind of the theme that's been going with us. We don't plan out year ahead. Reed and I know we're bad at that. We'll plan out maybe the next few weeks or the next few months, but that's at most. Because we do have that same, have that same perspective. Like, we don't know what the market's gonna do. We're gonna adapt. When COVID hit, we were able to adapt, and we were able to take advantage of the opportunities presented in the markets. And so, that's kind of just, in closing, that what I wanted to get across to the audience, being able to adapt, man, that's so key.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that, Glenn. Reed, in closing, what would you look if there was one thing you wanted to make sure that outliers out there were able to connect to and walk away with? What's one thing you'd like to wrap us up with?
There's a lot, but the thing that comes to my mind is just be honest with yourself. And that's maybe the hardest thing for some people. I know it was very difficult for me to overcome my own self, my own ego, my own thoughts. So when you're in the middle of the night and all you're doing is you're sitting with yourself, like, that's where that psyche, that edge comes to play, those negative thoughts, right? And I think if you're just honest with yourself, and not too harsh on yourself, that's also not being too praiseworthy of yourself, boosting up your arrogance, the ego. And then it's also not beating yourself up too much. Like, being honest is like, okay, I'm weak at this, but I can improve, or I'm strong at this, so maybe I could get better. I'm not the best at something. So, I mean, that's what I want to leave everyone here with. Just be honest with yourself, and like, fruition, all your dreams will come true.
I'm really grateful for the two of you here. This has been a really wonderful conversation. I'm looking forward to continuing to grow our relationship. I'm like, we have soil, we have seeds. Let's see what happens, if anything happens. But and next time I'm in Hawaii, I'm definitely grabbing coffee with y'all.
Dude.
So we'll make that happen. All right.
All
right. Awesome. All right. Well, be well. Take care, and keep living on your edge.
Thank you for having us. We'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
We're just getting started. Take 10 seconds to think about your greatest insight from today's conversation. And if you're ready to go and bring this to a deeper, more applicable level for you, come and join us in an upcoming masterclass. Go to outliersedge.com/masterclass to be coached live and to bring your aspirations, your goals, and your challenges and have them handled in real time. This is high flame, high impact, high transformation. Go to outliersedge.com/masterclass and come experience your next level of leadership.